Welcome to The Explainer. You know, there's this promise we all hear, the one that says a college degree is your ticket to a better life. But for millions of people, that promise is getting absolutely crushed by the very real, very high cost of just getting in the door.
And if you want to understand this crisis, you have to start with this number. And wow, is it a big one? $1.8 trillion. That's the total student debt held by over 42 million Americans. And you have to remember, this isn't just some number on a spreadsheet, it's a massive weight on an entire generation.
So where does all that debt come from? Well, a huge driver is this figure right here. The average sticker price for just one single year at a private college is now $45,000. Even for in-state public colleges, you're looking at nearly 12 grand. I mean, these numbers have climbed to some truly astonishing heights. Okay, so let's dive into that. Let's really unpack what we mean when we talk about tuition inflation. Because the numbers, well, they tell a fascinating and, frankly, a pretty startling story.
This slide really puts the problem into perspective. I mean, look at that. Since the 1980s, the cost of college has shot up by over 300%, even after you adjust for regular inflation. So what does that mean? It means college hasn't just got more expensive along with everything else. No, it's dramatically outpaced the cost of cars, food, housing. It's really in a league of its own.
And this chart here, it shows that relentless year-after-year climb. The advertised price, the one you see on a college website, it just keeps going up and up. It totally fuels this feeling that college is just becoming completely unaffordable for the average family. But here's where the story gets a little complicated.
Check this out. The average net price, and that's the important part, that's the cost after grants and scholarships are factored in. It's actually been going down for students at public universities for over a decade. So more financial aid is covering more of that scary sticker price.
And that right there, that brings us to the core puzzle of this whole thing. If the average cost for many students is actually decreasing, why is that $1.8 trillion debt bomb still ticking up? To answer that, we've got to look at a huge change in how we as a country even think about education.
So to really understand this puzzle, we have to rewind the clock. The roots of today's crisis weren't planted overnight. Nope, they go back decades to this major shift in how America viewed higher education itself.
Back in the mid-20th century, this was pretty much the standard belief. Investing in college wasn't just about helping out one person. It was about investing in the country. You see, an educated population was seen as a benefit for everybody. It leads to innovation, a stronger economy, a healthier democracy, the whole shebang.
And this timeline shows you exactly when things started to change. Believe it or not, California used to offer tuition-free college. But in the late 60s, then-Governor Ronald Reagan started adding fees. And he argued that a degree was a private benefit for the student, not some public good for society. That idea went national in the 80s, and it led to two huge changes. States started cutting funding for universities, and the government began shifting from giving students grants, that's money you don't pay back, to offering loans, which you absolutely do.
So you can probably guess what happened next. With less public money coming in, colleges had to make up the difference somewhere. And the result was tuition inflation. This crazy phenomenon where the cost of college just keeps rising way faster than the cost of everything else. Now, this mix of rising prices and a huge reliance on loans didn't just happen in a bubble. It has created these powerful ripple effects that are shaping our society in some really profound ways.
For millions of graduates, student debt isn't just some bill they pay every month. It's a life-altering burden. It means putting off buying a house, it means waiting longer to have kids, and struggling to save for retirement. It even means that fewer people are willing to take the risk of starting their own business.
But you have to look at the other side of the coin here. Because despite the very real burden of all this debt, a college degree is still one of the most reliable paths to a better economic future. On average, a graduate will earn about $1 million more over their lifetime than someone with just a high school diploma. So the benefit is huge, but the barrier to entry is, too. It's a real paradox.
So naturally, you have to ask, who's to blame for all this? Who do we point the finger at? Well, as with any really complex problem, there's no single simple answer. The debate generally breaks down into two major arguments.
Okay, so let's break down these two camps. Argument 1 says the blame lies with reduced public funding. As states invested less and less money per student, colleges simply had to raise tuition to cover their basic operating costs.
But argument 2 points the finger right back at the universities themselves. This view says they're spending tons of money on things like fancy dorms and huge sports facilities just to compete for students, all while their administrative staffs get bigger and bigger. A key part of this argument is the theory that the easy availability of federal loans actually encouraged colleges to raise their prices because they knew students could just borrow more to cover it. So it's the classic debate. Is it a funding problem or a spending problem?
All right, so we've looked at the problem, we've gone through the history, and we've heard the debate. So what do we do about it? How can we possibly forge a more affordable path forward for higher education?
Well, most experts point to an approach that has a few different parts. First, governments can reinvest in higher education to take some of the pressure off tuition. Second, we can expand and, frankly, simplify financial aid and loan forgiveness programs. Third, the institutions themselves can work to control their own costs. And fourth, we can promote more affordable routes from the very beginning, like tuition-free community colleges.
And all of that leaves us with this final, really crucial question. We know a college education is a powerful engine for opportunity. The challenge for all of us, then, is to figure out how to build a system where the promise of that opportunity isn't limited by its price tag.